Okay, I think you can see me. Happy Sunday. Um, I'm going live early today because I have to meet up with a college friend in the afternoon and going straight into a meeting after that. So I figured I'd do my cooking now, and I want to make some granola, and it's about to get really hot in New York City. It hit 80 degrees Fahrenheit yesterday, and it's going to hit mid 70s today. It's probably going to dip in temperature next week a little bit, but I don't know. It's already starting to feel like summer in May, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll wait for a couple folks. I don't know how many people are going to join at 9 a.m. in the morning. Probably not a lot, but let me respond to this text and then we can get going. Good morning. Yes, go to your local tea store. What are you getting? What tea? I ran out of my really old 5-year-old matcha and I miss it. So I might buy another pound of matcha to last me another 5 years soon. Um, anyway, I bought some groceries off of Vitacost. I don't know if you know of that website, but they're kind of like a health store, but website. Um, and I saw this peanut butter. This is Kroger's brand peanut butter. I don't believe I have a Kroger's near me, so I thought, oh, this is interesting. I could try a peanut butter I've never tried before. The reviews were middling at best, and I read through them. Some of them are like, this tastes is great, blah, blah, blah. Some of them were like, something has changed. There is so much oil. And I'm just like, it's natural peanut butter. How much oil could there be? So I ordered it. There's a lot of oil. Actually, this has settled a little bit so that they're more equalized. But when I first got these two jars, one jar had like a third of the oil visible, and the other jar had like way more oil visible than you see here, which is already quite a lot. This is over a centimeter of oil. This is like a third of it's like a 3/4 of an inch thick of oil. So as far as natural peanut butter goes, this is probably really heavy on the oil, but I figured that since I don't like my peanut butter super runny, I would use this peanut oil and make some granola, which I think will be really tasty. And I have this bag of Bob's Red Mill 5-grain hot cereal that I'm not like a super fan of. I thought it would just be like rolled oats, you know. They're kind of like rolled oats, but there's also wheat, rye, barley, um, triticale, and flaxseed in here. So there's a lot of grains. It's a little bit chalky and grainy for me. Too grainy. 5 grains, 2 grains. So I'm going to be making my granola with this, with the peanut oil, probably with some maple syrup that my coworker gifted me a while back. And maybe we'll add in some other seeds and spices, but I think we're going to be binding it with this like flax seed sludge that I made with some homemade oat milk that I just Vitamixed up in my blender this morning. This is oat milk. I also made some cashew milk. So the oat milk is a little translucent and the cashew milk looks honestly like milk. It looks so white. So that's it. I'll be sipping on my green smoothie that you see hanging out here. There's some cucumbers and kiwi and lemon and apple, and my cashew and oat milk. And it's like pretty okay, but the kiwi is giving me that like buzzy astringency on my tongue, which I'm not a fan of. But the flavor is good. So yeah, we're just gonna see what happens with our very grainy oatmeal. granola. So that's what I'm thinking. Oh, and salt. We should probably add some salt in here, huh? Sooner or later. I'll be using a huge bowl. Oops, sorry. I'll be, I don't know how loud that was for you, but this is the bowl that I usually wash my veggies in. And I'm just going to be dumping everything in here. And I was thinking, since I'm going to be turning on the oven, there's a little bit left from a previous bag here. Just going to throw that in. Should we try to make a corn cake? Like a cornbread situation happen? That would give me some purpose. But I also wonder if the granola might take both layers of the oven, so maybe not. I'm going to, we have a lot of flax seeds in here, so I'm just going to go in with a little bit for texture. And I'm going to add some pumpkin seeds in here. I just got this off of Vitacost too. I started shopping off of Vitacost like regularly after all of my health issues started, just because I guess I have a vitamin shop near me, but I don't have like a health food store. And it's obviously just easier to get everything online, I guess, but maybe I should shop more local, huh? I actually have no idea how good the deals are on Vitacost, but I bet you I could find better. If I had the energy to find better. So we have flaxseed, pumpkin seeds, and grains in here. I'm going to throw in a little bit of cashew, but I do eat cashews pretty regularly on my own anyway. So I think not much. 3 protein scoops full. Alright, so we got some nuts, seeds. What else? Any spice requests? Should I go in with like a health turmeric black pepper? Oh, that could be good. Turmeric and black pepper could be good. Could be horrible, but could be good. So I'll chance it. And I think I'm gonna do a little nutmeg in here too. Why not? I don't want to make it, well, it's going to be tasty, but I don't want to make it too tasty because I have a habit of binging on granola, which is okay except for the fact that they make the most horrendous farts. So I do want to like up the health factor and maybe play down the delicious factor a little bit. Honestly, if you wanted to make good granola, you just need grains, a lot of fat, and a lot of sugar. And that could be in the form of honey or maple syrup or whatever else you got. Everything else is pretty optional. So that is all up to you. The spatula I have not used in a long time, so I'm going to rinse it. Dust and debris. I'm going to dry it on a clean towel. Oh, salt. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Wow, you are up early, Palm Springs. Role model. Goals. I cannot be bothered to wake up that early. Anything else? I'm reading your comments now. Let me think about... You had the worst shift today. That's awful. What made it so bad? You want to dump on us? You love my granola sessions. I don't make granola that often, so I'm glad we're making it right now. I have just been thinking about this granola ever since I got this peanut butter with this much oil, so I'm really glad that I finally convinced myself to do it. Hi, India. We are not putting MSG in this granola, unfortunately. Not the time. Cinnamon. Sure, let's do a little cinnamon. But I'm going to use a different kind of cinnamon. To make it more savory, this is cinnamon verum, true cinnamon. It is not like the sweet cinnamon. It's a little more floral and a little bit less sweet and a little bit chocolatier, like unsweetened chocolatier. And I'll put a little less of the royal cinnamon, which is the sweeter kind of cinnamon. And then we'll have a double cinnamon. Awesome. Thank you. Anything else in here? Do you want to see anything else go in? I'm going to take a smoothie break while you give me last suggestions for our interesting granola. The mix contains 5 grains, including oats. We have pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, cashews. We have salt. We have turmeric, black pepper, nutmeg, 2 kinds of cinnamon. And we're going to add in this flaxseed oat milk sludge to bind it. And I'm going to drizzle in some maple syrup, maybe honey. I have this natural crunchy peanut butter oil that we're going to use to crisp up that granola. I don't have dried coconut, no. Oh, that would have been delicious. Mom would have loved that in there. But I do not. Nope. Great suggestion though. Oh, you know what I was thinking of trying, and I will try it because I just remembered, and why not? I'm going to put in some cornstarch. I've never put cornstarch into granola, but I feel like it will crisp it up in that like kind of flaky way. I don't know what it's going to do to the taste, but I really want to experiment putting some cornstarch in, so let's do it. Cornstarch granola. Have you ever had cornstarch granola? Let's see what that does to our camera angle. Maybe you can see into the bowl better if I tilt you down. Yeah, a little better. We're just gonna mix the spices in, have the cornstarch coat everything a little bit more. Okay, now let's go in with our oil first. Ooh, it's a clean peel though. Did I just jinx myself? So far, so good. Hell yeah, that was a clean peel. Props to you, Kroger. Let's open the other one. My gosh, hi Jason. Everyone say hi to our collective husband that we don't know at all. Also a clean peel with a little more effort, but we did it. Amazing. Love a clean peel. Okay. I'm going to measure how much oil comes out of this. I'm gonna weigh it. Just gonna let it drain a little bit extra. That was 2 ounces of oil out of 1 container. That's like, it's gonna be over half a cup of oil from both of these. That's a lot of oil. That is a lot of oil. And now I can moisturize my hands with peanut oil. Amazing. Let me smell like peanuts for the rest of the day. Yeah, that's why all the reviews were freaking out. Look, it's so empty now without the oil. But yeah, that's why I was like, let's try it. The peanut butter was on sale. I think it was like $2.50, buy one get one half off. So it was less than $4 for both of these. I just figured, can't go wrong. This second jar, by the way, half an ounce lighter than the first one. I'm gonna let some of the crunchy peanuts fall in here. That's gonna be extra delicious in our granola. Let's see how much drained out of this one. 2.5 ounces. Holy schmoly. So this one was probably the one that arrived with a shit ton of oil because this one was lighter by half an ounce compared to this one. And it yielded half an ounce more oil than this one. So we have like a full ounce less of actual peanuts in here. And just a lot of oil. These are 15-ounce jars, so they're not even 16 ounces. So out of the 15-ounce jar, we have 2.5 ounces of oil. That's 1/6. 1/6. Am I doing the math right? I am. Of the container. Was just oil. All right. The ingredients list is, if we trust it, roasted peanuts and salt. So that is supposedly all peanut oil. Do we trust them? I don't know. Do we trust anybody now? I wouldn't. So if you're saying the oil separation happens more over time, that makes sense, right? These peanut butters might be really old, which is why they are cheaper. So it says best by August 2025. So yeah, these are, they don't smell rancid though, so that's good. But yeah, these are older peanut butters for sure. All right, I'll fridge them. So we're just gonna distribute in this oil. Oh, did anyone watch Eurovision yesterday? I did. Let me throw my trash out. I'll be right back. Oh my gosh. A nut butter manufacturer. AMA. Well, ask contraction anything. That's exciting. What was the best part of the job? What was the worst part of the job? What was your favorite product? What was the best nut to get oils out of? What was the nut that would go rancid the fastest? Yo, Eurovision yesterday was like another reminder that nothing is real. They give you this idea that you have participation in a democracy, but like every single vote that came, so I don't know if you know how Eurovision works, but it's a music competition between a lot of different countries in Europe, and there's 26 contestants that make it to the final, I guess. That's how many performers we had yesterday. And at the end of the performances, there is a, basically like, the country panel votes, and that accounts for half of the total points that a contestant can get, and then there's a public vote that accounts for half of all the points that contestants get. But the public vote costs money. Every person can vote 20 times, and each vote costs $1. Sorry for all the questions about nut production. Cashew goes rancid the fastest. Interesting. Okay. And that's after roasting, I'm guessing. Because cashews actually don't go rancid that fast for me. Walnuts go rancid the fastest for me. I've had walnuts sit in my pantry for like 3 months and it would go rancid. The best part of the job is the fresh nut butter, of course, of course, of course. Yum, cashew macadamia. Okay, so yeah, Israel ended up almost winning the competition. It had like 250 points or something crazy like that coming through popular vote, which no other country came close to, by the way. The other country, Austria, ended up winning, spoiler alert, and it got like over 100 points in popular vote. I think one other country might have gotten over 100 points in popular vote, but like no other country broke 200 points in popular vote. So, I don't know, man. It just feels very fixed. And I don't think the vocalist that represented Israel was bad. I think she had solid vocals, but I for sure don't think that it deserved to be in the top. I didn't even want it in the top 10. but I'm biased, obviously, but I don't think it deserved to be in the top 6 or 7. I think there were a lot of other more original songs and performances that had a lot more entertainment factor. Um, so that was wild. I was like, my brain was hurting when that was going down. Yeah, and Israel isn't even in Europe to begin with, okay? Great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I, in fact, have it written here on my score sheet. My friend Giannis hosts a screening every year, and he invites me. Israel is not in Europe, so I did not get new tattoos. I haven't gotten one since last January. My health has been truly tanking. The last body modification I got was my nose piercing in March of last year, and then in July I got really sick, so I haven't gotten anything new. Alright, let's sweeten this deal up. I'm going to say we should measure this so that I don't go so overboard with the sugar. But let's see. $96, that was like a third of a cup, a little over a third of a cup. I think we can go a little more. This is a lot of granola. Yeah, walnuts do want to go bad. They're too cerebral. They think too much. They look like brains. Okay, that was a little over half a cup. All countries in the world can participate in Eurovision if they are a member of the European Broadcast Union. What are the non-European countries that are in the European Broadcast Union? And why would non-European countries be in a European Broadcast Union? I'm so confused, guys. I need answers for this world. This world doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I'm going to pinch a little bit of this mixture after I mix it 10 more times. And then I'm going to taste for sweetness. And then I'm going to let it sit while I clean out my sheet tray so that the maple syrup can kind of absorb into the grains before I put in the binder of the flaxseed sludge. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate the well wishes. Yum. That's pretty good. Not too sweet. I can always add more later. I think I might add in some coconut sugar in here. This is currently out of stock on Burlap and Barrel, but this is one of the most amazing sugars I've ever tasted. It tastes like s'mores. So you get a little bit of like that creamy marshmallow taste. And then there's also like this milk chocolate component to it. It is like a coconut palm sugar, so there is a little bit of earthiness. It's super, super fine, so it sticks to anything that you dust it onto. And it just has a really cute flavor. Okay. Let me see how that tastes. That was probably at least a quarter cup of sugar in there. Ah, yes, money is the answer. This is why I don't care for answers anymore. They're so lame, boring, predictable answers, and very dumb and illogical. Like money is good, right? Up until a certain point. Productivity is good up until a certain point. Um, delicious food is good up until a certain point. Exercise is great up until a certain point. Like there is such a thing as too much exercise. Like people have done organ damage to themselves because of exercising too much. So I think in this stage of capitalism, we just have too much of everything. And like we're not putting limits and regulations on ourselves. And certainly the government has gone haywire too, and they've lost touch with their own sense of appetite. The more I think about it, the more I realize that the world is like running on an eating disorder of sorts. If you think about eating disorders as like a dysregulation of um, consumption limitations and needs, and also a disconnection from sensing your own requirements and fulfilling them. Like our world is on a huge eating disorder phase, and we're wrecking our bodies with this. Okay, the oats are feeling heavier and heavier, which is great. Let's taste this. I love it. Okay, I'm going to clean the sheet pans. Mostly by wiping them down with this paper towel that I thought I had. Here we go. A damp paper towel is best. I need to find my other soap pack. Where'd it go? This is after I've washed it last time. There's just some residual Maillard shit on the trays, so I just always like to wipe them down. Also, if they've been sitting in the oven for a while, they can collect some amount of dust. So I would just like to take a moment to say that I've been thinking about working in restaurants again once my body is feeling healthier, but then also how I literally have no desire at all to go to restaurants anymore unless it's to meet up with a friend. I don't know why, but my appetite for eating out is just like 15% tops. Sometimes it gets up to like 30% if I see something really exciting, but I feel like before I would have like an average of 60 to 70% of like always wanting to try new food and going out with friends. No appetite for it anymore. Anyway, they probably don't wipe down their sheet trays in the restaurant or their silpats before they use it because they use it constantly. But something to think about if you eat out a lot. Sorry, I just spilled some granola on the floor and now I have to wipe it. And all the surrounding dirt and debris on the floor now that I see it. Give me 1 minute. Okay, I think we're ready to turn on the oven after I wash my little grubby hands. Oh wait, we're not ready to turn on the oven because we have to put the flax seeds in. Duh. I also realized that my Pixel phone can't hold power as well anymore, so I'm gonna plug it in. And you're back. Here is our flax sludge. Tastes like oatmeal. I like dry granola, but there are times where I will really, really yearn for some granola with milk. But like the milk has to be just like a dipping sauce for the granola. I just want my granola at most half wet. I don't want it to fall apart. It's kind of like I want my milk on my granola the way I want butter on my bread. There should not be more butter than there is bread. Alright, so this has cornstarch, peanut oil, maple syrup, flax, it has homemade oat milk, it has 5 grains, and pumpkin seeds, cashews, and spices, including turmeric, black pepper, coconut sugar, nutmeg, 2 kinds of cinnamon, and a little salt. Am I missing anything? I don't think I'm missing anything. But you know what? I do think I want more turmeric in here. It's not golden enough for me. Okay, beautiful. I have really grown to love the flavor of turmeric. I think everything is a matter of exposure. There are some spices that I've really grown to appreciate the flavors of just because I have so much spices now because I work at Barrel Up and Barrel that I've been trying to use through all of them and not waste them. So I've had to like expose myself to spices that I didn't love before, like nutmeg and cloves and even saffron. Saffron has always tasted a little bit like chlorinated swimming pool water to me. It smells like it that way to me too, but I put it in my smoothies now. Apparently saffron is really good for like memory and mental health. So I've just been trying to add all of those things in. And I've been having fun exposing myself to things I didn't previously like before. Also a good reminder that the more you expose yourself to something, the more okay you are with it, which explains a lot of the normalizations of like really not good things lately. Something that I've been thinking about ever since I got myself fired from Delish is that even before I got fired, I knew there was a chance of me getting fired for speaking out the way that I did. Because, you know, if you stick out, you will get hammered back in. Unless you're determined to not get hammered back in, then you will get tossed. So for me, at that stage, it was just a matter of deciding, is this the kind of environment that I want to keep exposing myself to on a daily basis, even when I feel awful in it? And in the year after my mom passed away, I decided that nothing was worth me suffering through shit that made me so unhappy. So here we are, making granola on a Sunday morning. Couldn't be better. Let us turn our timer to half an hour and bake. I'm gonna bake at you know what, let's bake at 350. My oven runs a little hotter, so this might get toasty. But let's start with 350 for half an hour and then we can always lower it. I think it makes sense to press your granola down so that you compact it if you like chunky granola bits. If you don't, then you shouldn't compact it. But I am a big fan of crunchy clusters of granola. So I'm gonna smooth it out and kind of condense it into a flat layer. I think about the word exploitation too, you know, especially in like a Marxist sense, how workers are exploited by the capitalists, so on and so forth, how we don't get paid the wages that we need to like actually live a fulfilling life, that we're constantly just being forced to run on this hamster wheel to keep production churning. I've been thinking about this word exploitation, and I've been thinking about once you recognize that this is a system of exploitation, do you agree to be exploited? Mentally first. Materially, I think a lot of us can't afford to quit a job, leave a job, not have a job. But, like, mentally, are you resisting this idea of being okay with being exploited forever? I don't know about the word exploitation. I don't want to like keep using these words like justice. I have trouble using the word justice now because I've realized that it doesn't exist. Justice truly does not exist. So what happens if I keep using a word that signifies something that does not actually exist? Am I just perpetuating a fantasy and making the unreal real? Am I allowing myself to sink further into delusion every time I use a concept that I know to not exist and creating cognitive dissonance for myself? Where if I keep using it, I wouldn't even trust myself anymore because I'm using a word to signify something that doesn't exist. It's like microaggressions against myself almost, to kind of gaslight myself into believing these concepts that have been handed down to me, but never proven to be true. Sometimes. But if it only happens sometimes, it's not a rule. It's not a law. It's just chance and luck. One tray, two tray. I'll have that go for half an hour. In the meantime, I have this leftover pancake batter. I have been enjoying making silver dollar pancakes with these, but I figure that since you guys are here, what we could do is use that waffle iron that I've only used once. And see if we can use it again, if I can find it. Where are you? It's hiding from me. I don't know if y'all remember this, but I went through an eBay phase of like stalking out these old waffle irons. And I finally bought one, but I've only used it once. And it's like rusty now. I'm just gonna dry it on the stove. This might not be safe, but whatever. everybody likes these rants though. I was reading through like a. It's so funny how all the social media platforms are like merging into one now. You have TikTok, like TikToks being posted on Instagram Reels, also being posted on YouTube Shorts, just all these cross postings, and then there's also like Reddit threads being read out by an AI voice being posted on YouTube Shorts. There's also slideshows of Reddit comments on Instagram posts. It's just very confusing. But anyway, I was reading a Reddit thread on Instagram talking about what made you unsubscribe to your once favorite YouTubers. And there were like 3 comments out of 10 that were just like, they started getting political. And people don't like it, you know? People like to compartmentalize their lives, and I get it. So I can go on all the rants, which I do, but it's not gonna have a huge viewership because I think ever since I stopped making edited content, like this channel confuses a lot of people and they're like, what is this about? This is just a crazy woman ranting, which is true. But there are like 20 of you who love crazy women ranting, so here we are. I'm doing what I love and want to do, and you get to listen to my crazy lady rants. And sometimes look at my cat, who's not dying anymore, I guess. Yeah, I made sure to buy like an old one. So I'm just gonna let it chill. I'm gonna let the batter kind of come up to room temperature for a little bit. We'll probably wash out that bowl, and then we'll see if we can make like a crispy waffle with this waffle iron. Yeah, quite a few people were like, when the ads got 3 times as long, and it's not just like the ads that YouTube intercuts into a video, but like the ads where the creator is actually talking to you about how much they love, you know, Squarespace. I think another one was they had babies, like the creator had babies, and all of a sudden their content just turned into babies and being parents. So, you know, that's that. You start a fight with yourself? That's a level of crazy that I haven't gotten to yet, except I will say, post-breakup, when I was like truly having a meltdown and before I got really sick, I honestly think that post-breakup mental breakdown contributed to like my immune system falling apart and then all of these just random health conditions compounding each other. But there were like 2 months where I was talking to myself in the mirror and saying all these things that I had wanted to say to that person, that I didn't have the time or space to do, or chance rather. And it was like really therapeutic actually talking to myself while watching my own face in the mirror as I talk to myself. It sounds insane, it kind of is, but like insanity is sometimes the antidote to worse forms of insanity. It's kind of like a little vaccination against a further self-distancing and animosity from happening. So I would say, like, out of the things that have changed my life, for sure, my mom dying, watching the genocide in Gaza go down shifted my entire interpretation and viewpoint of what this world is about. Getting sick, for sure. I think getting sick really shows you who you are without the ability to perform who you want to be. And yeah, and they're all kind of horrible things. but they're the things that like really shatter through the illusions of what I wanted my world to be, of what I was told my world was, of what other people want me to continue believing and performing in so that their worldview is held intact. I feel like there's a lot of alienation happening in my personal life now because of all these changes that I've gone through that like no longer allow me to fully believe in my previous reality, which then also creates friction with the realities that other people continue to live. Because I'm now ringing on a dissonant level to their frequency, basically. So it's like a clash, you know. And I think I first realized this when I was dealing with grandma. She was living in a reality that like I had no access to because she was dealing with dementia and psychological issues, you know. She lived through a lot, so I'm sure she had various forms of PTSD and just like mental landmines, basically. So there was all of that grief and trauma just like swirling inside her and despair because she couldn't go home, like she had no access to anybody. Only in the last 2 weeks have I started crying about this grief. I think it's this grief. I don't know. It's hard to put a label on why you're crying sometimes. But all the guilt is like seeping back in. My friend Samira is working as a EMT now, and she recently just dropped patients off at the rehab center that grandma was at, and it just reminded, like, her telling me all these situations with these patients and like the conditions that their different centers present. It just reminded me of how like lonely it was to be grandma for the last 3 years after my mom died, you know, stuck in a facility where she couldn't really talk to most nurses because they didn't speak Chinese. And they didn't have enough people to like change her when she soiled herself immediately. Sometimes she probably sat there for an hour or two, who knows, right? And the kind of despair that generates. That kind of loneliness. And what my brain tends to do, and I don't know if other people's brains do this, but what my brain has always done is like, when I see a sad situation happening to someone else, I'm only like 2 steps away mentally from putting myself in that situation and imagining myself going through that hurt. And that's like a huge reason why I think, for example, I can't watch movies with rape scenes in it because it's like traumatizing for me. Because then I start imagining, well, what would it be like if I were raped, you know? That's an extreme example, but there's like a lot of things that I can't get out of my head because then I start putting myself in those situations and I think about what it would be like to be grandma. You know, I think she was 93, 94 when my mom passed away. She's in a foreign country. She doesn't have any family except me. Her daughter's dead. Her son's far away. She can't see her son. Her husband's been dead for 2 decades. She has all these memories of like horrible wars and famines. And then I see all the shit that's happening in Gaza. And I think it's been like the last 2 years has just been me trying to make peace with the fact that all of these things are not only possible, but are reality and are currently happening and continue to happen and have always happened in this world that I live in. And just basically like 2 years of like very traumatic exposure therapy to the fact that while it may not be probable that I experience these horrible things in my life, it is always possible. And how to deal with that kind of pain, psychological pain, physical pain, spiritual pain, how to deal with this like disappointment of this is the world that we live in, how to deal with the fear that the child within me is scared of, confronting all of these just sad, helpless events. And I'm not saying we're all helpless, but there is a degree of helplessness to how things happen. So it's a lot to process. So I think what I've experienced is that a lot of people want us to be intact all the time. And they don't like to see the processing of things. They don't like to see how the sausage is made, so to speak. But people love to go to restaurants and eat sausages, especially if those sausages have been written up about in the New York Times and Eater and Grub Street. They would love to eat that sausage if it won a Michelin star. And they love watching shit like Chef's Table, where everything's perfectly cued to music and slow pans and beautiful lighting and sad stories with a happy or at least fulfilling ending, as if to say this was all worth it in the end. But what if it's not worth it? Grandma lived through almost 97 years on this earth. She went through a lot. And now her ashes are just sitting in a box in a black reusable bag in my living room. And when I finally managed to clean my floors, my broom and my mop is just right there next to her. So it really makes me think about, what does it mean to be a human? And what does it mean to be alive? And what is value? And what is worth? And what are these constructs that we've all been handed down and continue to uphold? And are they worth it? And how do we define that? And I'm just asking these questions. I don't know if things make sense. But I guess I can make myself believe that there is sense in it, if I really want to. What's the best way to oil this iron, I wonder? Maybe oil instead of butter would help me kind of cure it a little bit. That was way too much oil that I just put in there. I think the last time I tried to brush the oils into the crevices, it like burnt my brush bristles and probably melted some of the hairs into my pancakes, so I'm gonna not do that. But I will be attempting a flip over the cast iron here to catch any drips from going onto my stove. I'll just let it sit while I wipe up my snot here. Sorry, give me a sec. How was that for ranting? I'm gonna read your comments and sip on my smoothies. Apparently rehearsing a situation is very autistic. My friend Daisuke, I think, watched The Rehearsal by Nathan Felder, and he was like, this is very autistic. And I've always done that in my life. Like, I would write things I would want to say to people in my life down and, like, read it over and almost practice it so that I wouldn't miss out on what I wanted to say. I didn't know that other people didn't do that. I just know that I had always done that. And Aaron had always thought it was weird. Aaron would like get these very long emails explaining my whole mind, and he's like, oh, another June novel. You know, like, I don't think it's a very common trait, but I certainly know that there's other people who do it. Are they all autistic? I'm not sure. Am I autistic? I'm also not sure. But I do it. Could I spread her ashes somewhere? Well, I promised her that I would bring her back to China. I don't think she registered at the point that I had intended for that to mean when you die and you're ashed, I will bring you back to China. I did explain it to her explicitly like that once, though. But I think she was always in this, like, state of half belief that she would make it back to China. It was like this kind of desperate wish, which resulted in a lot of delusions and her, screaming at me to take her downstairs and leave her there because there are people picking her up, that there are airplanes that can deliver her back to Beijing in under 2 hours. That's rough. That's a rough story. That's awesome that you found a therapist who you could actually vibe with and identify with and feel connected to and seen by. It's really hard as someone who's not experienced as a therapy patient to go to a therapist thinking that this is like your way out, like this is your solution to understanding what's happening to you and to like being right again, and to have landed in the office of a therapist who actually can't understand you on the level that you need, and meanwhile you just go through this experience of, well, this is the authority figure that I was told would solve all of my life issues, and now I'm here but I don't feel great, and so I must be more broken than I thought. Therapists also take a lot of trial and error to find the right one, and I'm not sure if a lot of people realize that from the beginning, and I worry about the messaging that we have around therapy culture that just seems to insist that if you find a professional, you'll get the help that you need. I don't think that's always the case. Okay, now I'm remembering that last time we did this, the oil leaked out, the batter leaked out, and everything was horrible to clean up. Now I remember why I haven't done this in a very long time. And in case you were wondering, here's the brush that got frizzled. I don't know if you can see that, but all of the bristles are frizzly. So we're not going to do that again. It looks like bleached hair that's been blow dried too many times. I've also started realizing that some people want you to like heal or work on yourself at a much faster pace or a much more different pace than you are accustomed to, that you are capable of, that you find realistic and sustaining. And so when I think about what patience means and what compassion means, sometimes it's not about seeing the other person heal and get better in your imagination's timeline. Sometimes healing doesn't look the way that you want it to look. Sometimes the kind of healing that you want to see in others or in yourself never happens. And I feel like sometimes it's you trying to force that version of healing on yourself that is actually to your detriment. Speaking for myself, I think trying to heal along other people's expectations of timelines and degree of change has like made me feel much more guilt and shame that has actually prevented me from making the progress that I was more capable of making. I think it's really, really important to just realize that not everyone has the same capabilities, and they don't even have the same reality. Some people literally don't think we have a genocide right now, you know? What do you say to those people? What do you say to those people that would be productive? Like, I don't know if I'm able to convince anyone. They have to see it themselves. They have to come to that understanding themselves. Me arguing with them won't do much. It might actually prevent them from seeing things on their own. It might prevent me from seeing things on my own. I don't know. Let's try this. I think we're seeing more than ever the social contract breaking down, which is why nobody can, like, give way to anyone else anymore. They have to be right. They have to argue until they win. They have to cancel someone until there's, like, a definite look to what justice is. But I don't know if we're getting closer to actualizing justice by doing this. I'm gonna leave it open, actually, just to see. I want to see the bubbles appear the way pancakes do before I close it. I have it on a very low heat right now. And we're coming up on 30 minutes on our granola. So it's time to give it a check and possibly flip. And maybe turn down our oven because I am starting to smell a little bit toastiness, which is dangerous. It's golden for sure. I'll add 10 more minutes for now. I'm not going to disturb the clumps too much, but I do want to pull the edges in because that's where they start burning the fastest, because that's also where it's making contact with the metal the most and the hottest. So I'm going to have to sacrifice some pieces just so they don't burn immediately. Oh yeah, that one's burning. This one definitely has dark toasty corners. I don't know if you can see, but the corner that's closest to you is dark. can see it better now, I bet. Very dark. I actually think I should move this off completely. I think I'm actually going to turn off the oven. So I think we're pretty done. Toasty granola. You're supposed to let the granola cool a little bit before fucking with it to retain the clumps, but these I had to get off the sheet before they burn, so. Alright. I'm going to wait until I smell more toastiness come out of that, because I don't want to open it and the waffle is like half cooked and half not, and then I'm splitting it by opening up the iron. It's not burnt, it's charred. Yes, all that marketing language. You know, when they say earthy, it just means it tastes like dirt, right? But sometimes when they say earthy, it means it tastes like the floral life springs that occur in the soil after rainfall. Doesn't that sound better? Yes, when they say something tastes like mushrooms, they might just mean it tastes like rot. Because mushrooms are literally rot that comes out of moist, dead wood sometimes. Words are words. Imagination is related to words in large part, but also not really able to be encapsulated by words totally. So I've also been thinking about like the difference between thinking the same things as other people and coming together in solidarity to do an action together because you are all committed to seeing results, by having a united front. Thinking about the way that organizing groups fall apart because they have disagreements among their members regarding definitions and words and what actions are acceptable and what actions aren't acceptable, and like, what are you here to do at the end of the day? And is it necessary for someone to be completely aligned with what you think exactly in order to do that? Or can you still work on the project together while not seeing eye to eye on everything? It's kind of like coworkers. Some coworkers you put up with, but like you get shit done, right? I don't think everyone who works on an award-winning movie likes each other and thinks exactly the same thing, but they came together and they put their efforts in to make a beautiful piece of art and entertainment that speaks volumes. Sometimes, not always. So thinking a lot about that and just how difficult it is to organize in the US, because I think most people still see it as a hobby because they are not directly tied to the results. Their well-being is not directly tied to the results of what they're organizing around. Oftentimes it's like you're organizing for others' causes that you believe in but that you're not living in. And I think about the distance that creates because you're kind of like well-meaningly paternalistic. It's really hard. It's really hard to know what it is that you're doing on any given day. We are a lot of alumni at my college are trying to organize right now because our college has started arresting students. I went to Swarthmore College. It's a small liberal arts in Pennsylvania, about 30 minutes by train outside of Philly. And they started arresting students for protesting, of course, protesting for divestment from the genocide in Gaza. And we met with some professors, and it seems like academic freedom is currently very unstable right now. Professors are getting emails that aren't quite threats, but are kind of threats. You know the way corporate speak works. Kind of like we're not going to tell you what to do, but you should know that this is happening sort of thing. There are professors who have been at this college years before I attended, which was back in 2007 to 2011, who say that this is not the college that they know, that it has changed into something unrecognizable, that this college does not stand by its pronounced values anymore. And the college is using the pressures exerted by the Trump administration, I think, as a front, as an excuse to do what they always wanted to do, which is to consolidate power, to pass down rules without any sort of consideration, any feedback from students, from faculty, from alumni. It's fascist in the movement. And they're pointing fingers at the bigger fascist in the room, but that doesn't mean that they're not also fascist. They may use Trump as a cover for, well, we're just doing this so that we don't get into trouble with the government, but like, if you stand against fascism, you're gonna get in trouble with fascism. That's just how it works. So what they're really saying is, we're okay with fascism. And if that's the case, then we all decide at what point are we personally, individually not okay with fascism, and then we find other people who do agree with us on what level of fascism is unacceptable. and we organize, right? And organizations can look very different. I know people have this idea of organization as an abstract concept, but organization can look very differently in reality, especially for a country like the US where labor unions have been on the decline for half a century. What are organizations? We have to do a lot of learning, we have to do a lot of trial and error, but like it's not too late to start anything until it is too late to start anything, and I don't think we've hit that point yet. But like this is kind of a moment where I want a lot of people to do some reflection on what they stand for in their lives, and if they're not doing the reflection on what they stand for in their lives, then that's already an answer. It's an answer that they don't stand for anything in their lives. And there's no judgment on that. Some people just want to live their lives, and that's cool. But that does also mean that we have less resistance against this, what I perceive to be like a virus. And virus is part of nature. You know, I don't think this is like abnormal. I think this is just what happens when the balance of power is off, when there's no checks, no controls, no resistance. If your immune system is down and there's a virus in your body, the virus will take over your body and you can't defend yourself, and eventually you will get really, really sick and your organs might fail and eventually you might die. That's it. So if that's the reality that people are okay with, then that's the reality that they have chosen. It's still stuck. I'm not sure this batter is the right batter to use here. I'll let it cook a little more. But this is definitely more labor intensive than cooking sand dollar pancakes. But anyway, why I got on that college rant is Jonathan made a comment about this is why fascism can flourish so easily. We had that call with the professors just to get more details on what's been happening on campus because they've been there to witness it go down. And like, I think at one moment in the meeting, somebody said that there's just like nobody knows what's going on sometimes, and I think that's fertile soil for fascism to grow out of. Confusion, when nobody knows what's going on, and most people choose to tap out of understanding. And I'm not saying we have to make sense of everything, but I think it would be good to make sense of something. Otherwise, there's no anchoring anymore for how we live our lives. I have had no anchor in my life for over 2 years now, ever since I was fired. No full-time job. I had grandma to take care of and see every day until I couldn't, and you know, and then now she's not here anymore, so one fewer thing anchoring me to any sort of routine. And like, this is a period of being adrift, but how long should I be adrift for? Do I want anything to anchor me? I think these things are not things that I seek answers for, but rather I'm just posing them as questions as a point of consideration. It helps to kind of put everything into relativity for me. Side note, I got a bag of black eyed. I've been saving this bag to talk about this with you guys, and now I can let go of it and throw it away, but I got a bag of black eyed peas from Amazon because I had like 5 gift cards. You know those prepaid Visa gift cards that had like $2 each on them, and I couldn't do anything with them. So I ended up just buying like the cheapest thing I could find off of Amazon, and I think this bag of black eyed peas was maybe 96 cents or 98 cents. It is one of the worst beans I've ever had in my life. Like, I still ate them, but the skins were falling off prematurely. The peas had this like very empty feeling to them. They were mashy but not creamy. They kind of tasted like dehydrated mashed potatoes that weren't cooked all the way through, and also had 0 butter and 0 milk and just 0 everything in them. So if you've ever tasted mashed potatoes that have hit the water and absorbed the water but haven't been like cooked down into a creamy consistency yet, that's what these beans tasted like. So there is a difference for sure between Amazon $1 beans and Rancho Gordo $8 beans. Is it worth 8 times the price? Depending on who you are, maybe. I'm convinced now that yes, it may be worth the price. I've been eating this 1 pound bag of lentils. This is like a third left of the bag, and I've never eaten a pound of lentils this slowly before. But I think buying expensive beans, like, again, put into perspective the mindset that can shift when things are priced too low and when things are priced too high, and just how pricing affects our consumption. And so the fact that we've had cheap goods for so long that we got used to cheap goods, speaking for myself, I've been so used to cheap goods, right? Changes the relationship to how you consume entirely. At least for me, it does. So I've been thinking about that too. What it means to have cheap labor and cheap materials and cheap manufacturing and cheap product and like speedy consumption, right? Everyone has less time now to make their own granola. So they buy granola for $10. It's a trade-off. I think the environmental impact and the toll on our psyche is starting to show pretty drastically. And it's kind of like, at this point, you just found out you've been ill for a very long time. And do you choose to continue the illness, or do you try to heal yourself and treat it? Even though you may not win against the illness, do you attempt treatment? I think that's the existential question for us right now. I'm smelling this burning. And it is indeed burning. Okay, it got toasty, but it's like not terrible. The 3 bits that got stuck on the other side got a little burnt, so we probably won't be eating those, but these look like pancake crackers. So we're gonna let them cool off, and I'm gonna do my dishes before I eat these because I don't want to burn my mouth off. I'm also gonna check up on the granola that's still in there. Maybe it's time. Shall we try the granola? Just gonna plug you in so that you don't suddenly drop off. It's still a little bit warm, but it's thoroughly crunchy. Not surprisingly, the parts with the pumpkin seeds and the cashews are the best. Not too sweet, which is great. It was not my first time cooking with black-eyed peas. I love black-eyed peas. Black-eyed peas are so easy to cook. They take so few time, like relatively less time to cook than, say, I don't know, chickpeas. They're kind of like halfway between a lentil and a proper bean for me. They were just bad. I've bought cheap black-eyed peas before, but the Amazon ones are horrible. Don't buy Amazon beans. Maybe I had a bad batch, but like there's no reason why you should be buying Amazon beans anyway. I bought it because I couldn't use those remaining funds in stores. The machines just wouldn't take them, but yeah, I would not repeat that experience again. Hey, Florida. Yeah, some people don't know, right? And I have a friend who worked at the BBC for, I don't know, a decade or more. And she was like, shit has always been going on. Obviously, maybe not at this scale, but like, she found it really interesting that Americans have concentrated and focused on Gaza so much, because she just feels like there's been so much bad shit going on in that region and nobody's cared until now. So it's just like, I guess there is a confluence of social media ubiquity and just the speed of data transfer. I don't know, shit is warping our brains. I'm not saying we should be ignoring these things, but like, we have never had this much data and information hitting us this quickly in this amount before. Like, we are overloaded. And that's why we're paralyzed, you know? When you pump a balloon so full of air, like, it's gonna burst if you don't relieve some of it. I'm gonna make a mess. Are we in view here? The White House is not posting the transcripts of the president's statements. Interesting. I didn't know that was happening. It's like a pancake cracker. Kind of delicious, by the way. I'm gonna try it with a little butter and a little cream cheese. Got like a little sandwich going here. No such thing as bad butter. And now cream cheese. Yeah, my doctor was like, you have to watch your cholesterol. And I was like, yes, I know. My mom and dad both have cholesterol issues. It's gonna hit me. I now know that my mom tried to control her own issues and did not succeed, and she died. So just a point of reference for me to consider. But I guess we make the choices we make, huh? Okay. I think the butter is better. But I think there's one thing that's missing that I haven't tried. Where are you? Oh yeah, the smoked honey, which I've been using on this pancake, gives it like so much flavor. There's something about this particular pancake recipe that just makes this honey taste so good. If you don't know about smoked honey, it is not usually sold because it's considered a like byproduct. But it's basically the honey that was closest to when they started smoking the hive, which is a practice done to calm down the bees so that the bees like don't freak out and start stinging the beekeeper, which then causes them to die, and then the beekeeper gets stung. It apparently, the smoke kind of covers over their stress pheromones so that they don't like send messages out to each other to start panicking and attacking. So this is smoked honey. Honey, butter, cream cheese in that order if you can only have one of them, but butter and honey have been the winning combo so far. I will say, between this way of cooking the pancakes and just cooking the pancakes like a pancake, this one almost tastes better on its own. I would love it with some honey, but like the honey covers over some of the natural sweetness of the pancake, and it's most pronounced in this form of cooking by like toasting it basically into almost like a cracker. I think it's because it's probably through toasting it to that brown degree, it's caramelizing some of the sugars in the wheat, and also I did put a little bit of sugar in the batter as well. And I guess until you hit that temperature of cooking, you won't caramelize the sugars to that degree. So if you're cooking your pancake batter into a cracker, it might be sweeter than you thought it would be. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with the autofocus today, but it seems like I'm going out of focus a lot. I think my phone might just be dying. I don't have any avocado. I normally don't buy. I only saw the first season of Handmaid's Tale. Why, should I watch it again? I don't think so. I don't think I'm gonna watch it again. This is the cheese crisp that we cooked on our last live. It's still here at room temperature. I don't think it's molded or anything. So, we'll see. Maybe it'll keep forever, like a cheese cracker. Granola's a little bit cooled now. Let's get a chunk with cashews. We did it, y'all. We cooked. Yay. I'm gonna wait for the second waffle to finish, and then I have to run. I have to go to the farmer's market and then meet up with my college friend. Doing this organizing has given me a chance to reach back to some college friends that I have lost touch with for like half a decade or more. So this is another thing to think about when we talk about organizing, when we talk about community. I think those words are falling flat because everybody's talking about them and nobody is like doing them, so they just feel like fantasies. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just like treating people like they're people and seeing if you can work together to support each other. I think that's the definition of community and organizing. You don't have to like someone 100%. A lot of people don't even like their spouses or their children 100%, so you're allowed to like not like people for certain things, but treating people like people and understanding what that means on a very personal level and allowing for difference and disagreement. See if we can stop hating each other and ourselves a little more. Yeah, my phone's creative process, I respect it. I looked beautiful blurred, okay? Thank you, phone. Shout out Pixel 2XL from, I think before mom died. I mean, did I have this phone before mom died or after mom died? Can't remember. But I have this phone that I'm streaming on. I have the Pixel 6a. And I think once both these phones die, I'm gonna have to reconsider if I want a smartphone ever again. So. How long does the granola last? I don't know. I eat it really fast, so it's never really lasted beyond a week for me. But I think or even if you freeze it, it can keep for a very long time. It just depends on your atmosphere and how clean everything is. Like if you're reaching in with damp hands every time into the jar where you're storing the granola, that's going to introduce moisture and bacteria. That's going to make it grow bad faster. If you use sterilized instruments and containers every time and like seal it with a desiccant packet in there, is probably going to keep 4 times as long. So it's just a matter of being exposed to moisture, oxygen, and germs. Yeah, South Florida, you better eat that granola within 2 days. Or freeze it in a Ziploc bag, double bag it. So you don't get that like freezer burn, and you might have to eat it wet rather than crunchy dried. I've never lived in a humid area like that, but in New York City in the summer, it does get really, really bad, and this granola, I probably wouldn't even keep out on the countertop beyond 2 days. I would probably put it in the fridge. I think the fridge, not the freezer, but the fridge has a natural like dehydrating element to it, which is why if you ever put sliced bread in the fridge, it comes out rubbery and hard as a rock sometimes after a few days. So you can use that to your advantage, but never fridge bread unless you intend on drying it out and making bread pudding out of it, because I always freeze bread, never fridge bread. So. I think I want to eat this big chunk off the tray. Well, how about this? Is this bigger? Wait, let's try to get a big ass chunk. Oh yeah. How about that chunk? Oh, I turned the heat off on this pancake. And somehow I didn't even notice myself doing that. Did you notice me doing it? But I think it's cooked. Yeah, this blue top was $3. I feel like this kind of waffle iron needs nonstick spray, because getting this out in one piece is close to impossible unless you burn it to a cracker like I did on the last round. Alright, I just ripped it because I don't have time to get it out in one chunk, but as you can see, it can cook rather nicely. It's nice and fluffy and moist on the inside. It doesn't have to be a cracker, but it is also an option to have it turn into a cracker. Truly not worth the effort unless it's for presentation, because this is a much more beautiful geometric formulation than just a flat pancake. But the taste is kind of the same as cooked on the pan. But I think this is great for like pizzelle making. It's not as shallow as a pizzelle maker, but as you can see, it did get stuck. But it's not like a disastrous stuck. I can just soak it later. But I have to run to the market now. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you enjoyed my rant. And even if you didn't, thanks for tuning in and finding community with each other in the chat. And I hope you have a great week. And let's go see if our boy Memo is in his little nook. Hi, baby. Are you doing okay? No? You want to be left alone? Okay, well, people just wanted to see you, I think. Well, I wanted to show you to them. Okay. Good night, Memo. He's a sweetie. I don't think he's been satisfied by the food I popped open for him today, unfortunately, so he's a little bit pissy and hungry, but he's still alive. Go us. Have a great week ahead. Eat your vitamins, drink your water, sleep more than I do, please.